Hey everybody, we are live on YouTube for another episode of I Am Geek. Now we'll be recording our podcast here in a little bit, but we just wanted to say hello to everybody that's watching on the live stream right now. Now, we love to see you in the comments. So if you want to chat with us all night long as we record. If you got questions that come up, just put them in the chat and we will try to answer them. But tonight we're joined by a very special guest. Now, I grew up a wrestling fan and a video game fan, and tonight we're combining both of those worlds with the guy that's in charge of a new game coming out called RetroMania Wrestling, and we'll get into all of that in just a moment as we start recording episode 147 of I Am Geek. So, you guys ready? We got people in. We got a couple people watching.
Yep.
So, are we ready to record?
Ready whenever you are.
All right.
Yep.
Hello and welcome to I Am Geek. This is episode 147. I am Ryan. I'm joined by my brother Chris and our good pal Katrin, and we are back tonight with a special guest. It's great. Tonight we have Mike Herman from RetroSoft Studios, who's coming out with a new game called RetroMania Wrestling. How you doing, Mike?
Great, guys. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
We're glad to have you here. I'm a big wrestling fan, a big video game fan. My brother works on video games. He's got a sniper on him right now, so he can't talk about any of the secret stuff that he's doing.
That has nothing to do with my job. It's just like this.
He always says sniper. He won't even tell us what he's doing, like off the record or anything. It's that
He
bad.
won't. I'll be like, "What are you doing today?" He's like, "I can't tell you. I was locked in a room all day."
No, he's
I'm like,
playing video games all day. Is what he's.
yeah.
That's all he does.
And Katrin grew up as a wrestling fan, and he loves to play video games.
Yeah.
So this is like the best of both worlds.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So why don't we just start from the beginning? Tell us how this came to be for you, the RetroMania game.
So, yeah, growing up, I loved going to the arcades. And one of my first memories of I was a big wrestling fan as a kid. So I guess it started probably wrestling came right around the same time video games started. I had an Atari 800 computer was the video game console we had at home. Somehow my dad won it at work or something, or I forget the actual circumstances, but that's what we got, and we got a couple games with that. So that was my first home video game console that got me into it. And of course going to the arcades that were still pretty big, back, I'm going to date myself, but early 80s, we'll say around 82, 83, right before I guess everything crashed. But, I don't remember there being a video game crash, but I remember going to stores and being able to buy games for $1, which was awesome. So
Yeah.
that was it. It was a great time as far as I was concerned. But, arcades were in every restaurant, every hotel. And then right around the same time period, I started watching wrestling as well. So I kind of got into both at the same time. Eventually, WrestleFest, fast forward a couple of years, WrestleFest was like the pinnacle for me for arcade wrestling.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, and it was just such a great game. The presentation was great. The characters were huge, colorful, and I always loved that game. And me and a buddy of mine, I went to a Catholic school. He went to public school, but I had a lot more days off than he did. So whenever I had a day off, he would skip school because he went to a pretty big public school, and his parents really didn't care that he skipped that much. I don't know how he got away with it. I know I couldn't have gotten away with it. But so whenever I had a day off, we would drive to a mall that was near our house and spend, probably 3 or 4 hours there, play WrestleFest or X-Men, the arcade game, that 6-player one.
Yeah.
Turtles,
Oh,
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, yeah.
There was one other one we played a ton of. It was around that same time period.
The Simpsons, maybe?
Yes, it might have been The Simpsons. Yeah,
Okay.
so the four-player Simpsons. So, we played those all the time, and then we were trying to figure out how to save enough money to buy a WrestleFest arcade somehow. And obviously, that never happened. But I think they were like $5-6 at the time.
Yeah.
And we did go so far as ask the operator of the arcade to see, what it would take to get one. But
That's awesome.
and then they never released anything for the console. So, they had the or I think they had Raw, it was called at the time, or Super WrestleMania, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they never had WrestleFest, right? So fast forward again, you know, I that was the first when I discovered MAME, right? MAME, it was actually Rain at the time, the arcade emulator. And that was the first game I downloaded and found and played.
Me too.
And then and then I figured out how to put the code in or how to do a trick to play as the Legion of Doom, which you couldn't do in the arcade.
That's awesome.
You know, so I was so excited. I played that, and I've played that probably almost every day since I downloaded it. Even just one or I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you know, it's like I played a lot, is more than I probably should, put it that way. Right? So then I started. I am a software engineer by trade. But I do all my work in accounting and finance software. I co-own a business doing that stuff, and I've been doing that for 20 years. So I most of the coding I do is like database related code and stuff like that. No game development, but I did do a game for my master's in software engineering. My final project, I wrote a small game, cool. Very small. You know, I wouldn't show it to anybody else besides my professor. You know, it's one man band kind of thing. But I finished it and it worked and it was playable. So, you know, I've always wanted to do something like that. You know, you read horror stories about all these indie developers and, you know, so few of them actually make money. It's really rare now, especially the last 3 or 4 years. It used to be probably 1,000 games come out a year. Now it's like 1,000 a month or a week even. Yeah. On mobile, it's 1,000 a week, I'm sure.
Yeah, really.
You know, on console or on PC, it's probably close to. I don't know what the exact numbers are, but I'm pretty sure it's over 5,000 a year now as far as number of games released on Steam. You know, it's something crazy like that. Yeah. So, you know, it was very daunting. So, but I wanted to do it. I figured I'd start as a hobby. So I figured I would just reverse engineer the WrestleFest engine. So I started doing it, but, you know, I think some of you guys have kids. You know your hobbies. You may pick them up and do something for 3 weeks and then put it down for 3 months.
Yep.
And I'm not the best at commenting my code. So, you know, and I've gotten better because of this. But, you know, you do something and then you don't look at it for 3 weeks and then you have no idea you got to start over, you know, almost start over. So then I think it was THQ before they went bankrupt, said they were coming out with this new WrestleFest. Right? And I got all excited. Yeah. And I'm like, this is going to be awesome. They're finally going to do it, and they're going to add all these new characters. Because one of the reasons I did it for a hobby is I wanted to add the Macho Man to my game. He was never in it, you know? So I wanted Macho Man in it. So that was kind of that was one of the things that motivated me. So I'm like, I'm sure they'll add him and a bunch of other guys. And then they came out with that cel-shaded iPad game. And look, it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't for me. You know, it's not what I remembered. I really wanted that nostalgia buzz with just some added features, added wrestlers to it, you know, added modes of gameplay and all that. And they didn't deliver as far as I was concerned. Yeah. So I wasn't ready to do anything. And wow, this is a really long answer to your question.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
So fast forward a little bit, and in 2017, I finally started doing some market research, or probably at the end of 2016, to see if I could do something commercially. I knew it was going to cost a lot of money to do 2D sprite artwork, and we're talking thousands of sprites that we had to do for, you know, each wrestler has over 1,000 sprites to it. So, you know, it's a lot of, and we're doing traditional 2D sprite work, you know, almost in MS Paint type style stuff. Yeah. We're not using a 3D pipeline. Yeah. You know, I looked at the 3D side to do it that way, and it could be done, obviously, but you can't really, and you can use different shaders and things, but you can't get the look. I really wanted the WrestleFest look.
Yeah.
And you can't really get down to that through a shader, at least not the ones I found, or I couldn't afford to develop a shader, which would probably have costed more than my entire budget of the game to do something like that, right? So I found a programmer. We did a proof of concept, and that got us to where we're at now.
That's awesome. Wow. You guys started, though, with it being about with YouTubers as the wrestlers, right?
Yep. Yeah. So initially, the idea of actually signing professional wrestlers was very daunting to me. I've never done anything like that. Just not the celebrity status of them. You know, I don't really view celebrities or anybody even like that as very approachable. So how would I get a hold of them and all of that? And I figured, well, YouTubers I could easily get a hold of, and I did. And, I thought they were going to be more on, some of them were excited about it, but some were like, yeah, you can use me, whatever, and didn't really take me seriously. So I didn't get the enthusiasm back from them. And it's probably just me and my ego. I want, you want everyone to love what you're doing. You know what I mean? And it kind of fuels your fire and it fuels your passion for a project. And I thought, well, let me see what I can do. So I decided, let me see if I can get the Road Warriors. I did a little bit of research. I found out that the WWE, that's one of the few legends, that they don't own from the original WrestleFest. Or not under a Legends contract or anything like that. And I think it was due to some falling out that they had over. It might have been the CTE. I think there was a lawsuit or something like that. But there was some falling out there. I'm like, well, let me contact them. So apparently, there's a bunch of agents or bookers online that you can go to that represent a bunch of wrestlers. And a lot of the wrestlers are for every agent, but those guys have usually their direct number and can get in touch with them. So I reached out to one of those guys, and pretty shortly I had the Legion of Doom signed. Awesome. I had the Road Warriors. And I was like, this adds validity to the project. And then I was like, all right, I can do this. Let's go. And so then I kind of it switched from the YouTubers to, all right, I'm doing professional wrestlers now. So let's go.
Yeah, and
it would be funny to see some of the YouTubers get beat up by the Legion of Doom. That would be pretty hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's funny, we got a lot of comments. This needs to be DLC. You got to do this.
For sure.
Think about who knows? If the game's successful, you never know who might show up.
Yeah, it's like NBA Jam. Sure. They use characters from, or people that worked on the game, right? They became characters. So those, never know, maybe.
Yeah, anybody to beat up in the game, we're more than happy.
Yeah,
to join. You can beat us up.
You can beat us up. That's it. So how many characters are there right now?
So we've announced 14. We're going to have 16 for our launch, and then we actually have 2 guys already signed to DLC. We know there's going to be at least 18, and we are in talks with a couple other people for future, but we want to gauge interest, and I think, we want to see what sales look like before we invest more in DLC. But, so far, our social media has gone from 0 into a year, and we're over 60,000 followers across all of our social media platforms. So that counts Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all combined. So I know there's some overlap. So that 60,000 may be a little bit inflated. But still, we're gauging it from 0 to that. At least we have interest, And just the number of emails we get every day and comments, everything we post gets a lot of comments. So we're feeling pretty good where we're at right now. So we hope to be able to grow that roster in the future. There's so many guys I would love to add. And just, you guys know, growing up as wrestling fans, there's a lot of the older NWA, Jim Crockett Promotion guys we can get. And some of the old WWE guys that, were in that early to mid 80s that probably still own their name and likeness that we might be able to get a hold of.
Yeah, that's the hard thing with especially people that were in the WWE. They like to buy up all the people's names and stuff, so it makes it hard to get them.
Right.
Because it's funny, like you'll see, like when a character leaves WWE or person, and then when they show up somewhere else, completely different name.
Right.
So it's
like so we have Johnny Retro in our game. So he was Johnny Nitro, Johnny Mundo, Johnny Impact, and is now Johnny Retro for us.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, I bet I know who that is.
Yeah, and then he signed, and it's great. He went right back to WWE. So we do have a WWE a former version of that WWE star in our game.
Yeah, and you got Nikita Koloff. That's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah,
that is awesome.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I had met him. I just met him for the first time back in November. So we had signed him before that, and a coworker that works with me by the name of Mike Archer actually used to work with the WWE and worked at Acclaimed and worked on some of the Legends of Wrestling games. So he knew Nikita, so he got us in, and it was real easy to deal with, super down to earth. But my real memory of him is, if you watch this back then, he was famous for clotheslining the guy who was interviewing him with a chain in his arm. And I remember watching that as a 10-year-old kid and being like, I don't really want to go near. That's the only time I really remember, that's what I remember him as. And those crazy, he kind of had those bulging eyes out of his socket when he did interviews on purpose,
Yeah.
And he's a scary looking guy. And but I met him, super nice guy, really down to earth, easy to deal with. And that in that case, we really lucked out because all the guys on our roster have been great, have been super awesome. No one, has a big ego, it seems, on our roster, at least to the extent that I've gotten to know. Some of them I've gotten to know a little more than others, but it's been really fun.
Yeah, you got a really good mix here. You've got some young stars, and then you've got some that's been around for a while, like Nikita, and then you've got like factions. I mean, you got the BWO.
Yep.
When I saw that, I was like, that's hilarious. I haven't thought about them in years, but they're here, and that's so cool.
Yeah, so I live in right outside Philadelphia. So ECW was huge.
Yeah.
My buddy still has I think he took a cookie sheet to one of their shows and somebody used it and he stayed around afterward and retrieved it and still has it to this day. So if you haven't seen ECW, Chris, I saw a little odd look on your face there. But that was the norm back then.
Yeah.
But the BWO is awesome. I've gotten to know Stevie Richards, Big Stevie Cool, pretty well the last couple months, and I've gotten to know the Blue Meanie really well too. So great, and I know I've traded a few emails with. I don't really know him that well, but they were psyched to be in it, and this is the first time they've appeared in a video game as the BWO.
That's so cool.
So we were the first ones to put them together like that.
Yeah.
Chris, you might like Blue Meanie. You could, that might be your guy in this game, Blue Meanie.
I like the name. Blue Meanie. I'm off for that.
Yeah, I think the cookie sheet, going back to that, is one of the funniest things that has been used as an object in a wrestling match. Yeah. Because they'll pull them out from under the ring, and you're like, why is there a cookie sheet under the ring?
Not a very deadly weapon.
There's usually one under there.
Yeah.
Cookie sheets and kendo sticks.
You never know.
Yeah.
They got to eat too. They got to bake. I mean,
kendo sticks. Yeah, kendo sticks was another one. There's always like a kendo stick under the ring.
Why
I'm
did
like,
they put that there?
Why is that there?
Yeah.
But it's there.
Sledgehammers. You can kind of understand a sledgehammer or a chair, right? Because they might use the sledgehammer to put something together, I guess.
Put the ring up, maybe. Yeah, something like that.
And then you've got some young stars. You got Jeff Cobb.
Yep.
I became familiar with it was a wrestling promotion on
Lucha
Amazon.
Underground?
No, it was on Amazon. It was, I'll have to look it up. A guy that I know made this like show for Amazon, and basically he invited all these wrestlers in, and they had a tournament.
You talking about Dojo Pro?
Dojo Pro, yeah.
Oh, okay, yep.
And so that's where I became familiar with Jeff Cobb, and he's blowing up now. So you've got
we signed him at the right time.
Yeah. And then
then we have Zack Sabre Jr. is another younger guy. He does a lot of work in the UK, but he's had appearances in Ring of Honor and other places as well.
And then so you got Colt Cabana. Is he going to wrestle and commentate?
Yes, he is.
Yes.
So he's done some voiceover work for us already. We're in the process of implementing that into the game now, so we may need to tap him a little bit more to get a couple more lines. But we're not doing a ton of play-by-play, but it's more like kind of like an NBA Jam one-liner.
Yeah,
one-liners from Colt. A little more than the WrestleFest, which was like Jake body slam, and that was it. But there will be some of that as well, just for nostalgia purposes.
Yeah.
Did y'all ever play the video game? It was an arcade game called Saturday Night Main Event. I think it was, or maybe it was just Main Event.
Saturday Night Slam Masters.
Is that it?
Capcom?
Ah, man, I can't remember. I just remember there was a big guy, and if you did a body slam, it would say, "Picked him up like a pencil." And that's all it would say.
I don't know if that was in there.
I think it was called Main Event.
I gotta believe that was it. I'll have to check.
Yeah, look, I think it's called Main Event is the one I'm thinking of. I mean, there's so many, I guess. But,
oh, that's a different one then. Main Event's a different one.
Yeah. Okay. And it had anybody knew, but they looked like people. That was,
right. Oh yeah.
That was a lot of fun too, because it was a button masher. I mean, that's what I loved about playing WrestleFest, and Superstars and a lot of the early Nintendo games is they're button mashers. You don't have to
Right.
on the new stuff. I mean, we played the 2K19 or whatever it was, and it's like you have to time it just right, and it's not a button masher, and
Right.
Yeah.
so
Yeah, ours is definitely more of a button masher.
Yeah.
There is some strategy. It's not
Sure.
completely button mashing,
Yeah.
but we actually have a difficulty slider, so you can kind of do more or less of that.
nice.
And I'm with you, like especially now. Funny, the story I've told a couple places. My son Spider-Man came out for the PS4. Great looking game. He 100%, and he's like, Dad, you got to play this. Like he knew I played Spider-Man on the Sega Genesis. It was one of my favorite games ever. So he spends like an hour one Friday night teaching me how to play this. So and it's fun. It's a great game. But I put it down for a week and come back an hour later or a week later.
Yeah.
I haven't got to start over. I
Yeah.
don't remember any of the controls.
Sure.
You don't know how to play it. And that was one of the things that kind of frustrated me with the new wrestling games is I just want to be able to pick it up and play it for as long or as little as I want. And just get fun. That's really the thing driving this.
Yeah.
It needs to be just a fun pick up and play type game. And that's really what WrestleFest or RetroMania is.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. I grew up. One of my favorite games was the WWF. I think it's just WrestleMania, the arcade game.
Yep, with the Mortal Kombat style digitized graphics.
It had like it had like Doink the Clown
Yep.
and Razor Ramon and
Yep.
man, I played that thing so much on the Super Nintendo. I still have it. I still break it out and play it.
Yeah, it was a fun game. It was a nice,
Yeah.
and that's it's funny because that's what's missing. I feel in like wrestling games. There's no variety right now. Whereas even back to the early 2000s, you had like Backyard Wrestling and Simpsons Wrestling. Although that wasn't that good. That was on the PS1. That might have been a little earlier than that. But you had a couple Backyard Wrestlings. You still had two promotions then, so you had different games coming out. So, and now we've been dominated by the 2K game, which isn't, and again, I like the 2K games. They had a little rough ride recently, but, I like those games, but you don't always want to play that type of game. So it'd be like always playing the same first person shooter game. You want some variety.
Yeah.
So, and I think we can definitely offer some additional variety.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like Katrin was saying, that's the type of wrestling game that I like. The button masher, get in there and have fun. Now, are there going to be different kinds of matches?
Yep. So we have the original WrestleFest had just the tag team, and had the Royal Rumble. So we have a tag team match. We have the Retro Rumble, as we call it.
Cool.
We have singles. There's our 10 pounds of gold mode where you fight through to beat Nick Aldis to become the real world's champion.
Yes.
And then we have in our versus match types, we have singles, tag team, 6-man tag, 8-man tag, 3-way, 4-way matches as well. All of them can be elimination style, tornado style, with a cage, either the big blue or the old chain link cage as well. And then we also have a not super long story mode, though. It has a little training session in there, so it teaches you how to play the game real quickly, because there's really not, you can pick it up and play it. But just for those of you that want to learn, there's a couple nuances to it. And then it does take you through a story. You play as Johnny Retro coming off an injury, and you start out in Stevie Richards' fitness ring, knocking some rust off and getting back into the ring. And then it takes you through, introduces you to some of the characters, the different match types throughout the story mode. And it's fun. We actually had a writer write the story who is a game writer and teaches game writing actually at the University of St. Paul. Cool. His name's Sal Payne. So it's, like I said, it's not Skyrim by any means, but it's just a fun little story to get you familiar with the game and the different match types and some of the characters.
Awesome.
Yeah, when I saw I saw a video of the Big Blue cage, and that got me really excited. I was like, oh, that's that was the cage growing up.
And there's some more interaction with the cage, doing moves off of the top of the cage, and like smashing the head into the cage. That you didn't really in WrestleFest, all they did was if you did an Irish whip, they went into the cage. That was it. Yeah. So exactly, and they fell down. So we wanted to change that up and try to add some more cage interaction as well.
Yeah.
So when it releases, will it just be local play? no online component yet.
Correct. Yeah. So we actually initially we started online play right off the bat, but it was just too complicated for the size of team that we had.
Sure.
I needed dedicated people working on nothing but online, and the budget just wasn't big enough to do everything at once.
Yeah.
And that's what you come into. You want to be able to release the game, and I had this huge laundry list of features that I wanted to add to it, and and I'm used to that. It's called, we call it scope creep in my finance and accounting job. But whenever you go into a project and you have a customer, they may want the world and they want all this stuff, and then you find out how much all that stuff's going to cost, and you find out how long it's going to take to add all that stuff.
Yeah.
So we had to scale it down to something that was manageable, could be completed in somewhat of a time. We are delayed from what we first said. We first were trying to launch first quarter of this year, and we're pushed back to July. And I'm hoping we hit July, but it could get pushed another couple weeks. But I feel pretty good. We're at least in the ballpark as far as when we said we were going to release it. And we have to keep that in mind. So there's a lot of stuff that I would love to add more, online being one of them. And like I said, we laid the groundwork for that, and we're going to come back to it.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good thing about gaming nowadays. Anyway, is like you put something out there, you can always add on to it later.
Yep.
Like when we were growing up, it's just like you get the disc, that's it.
Yeah,
that's the game.
Yeah.
That's all you get.
Tape.
Chris says the
I know.
disc. Like,
The disc.
The
We got
little
the
CD
cartridge.
thing.
Disc. It was a CD. I had the cartridges too. I'm not that much older than you, but I'm older now and don't remember that far back anymore. I only remember what I've heard recently.
But yeah, that's another thing as we're going through this, we're trying to get as many of the kinks worked out, obviously. But the good thing is if you do miss something, there's an opportunity to fix it pretty quickly. So
Definitely.
I can't imagine, though, the developers years ago just like, you're done.
Yeah.
And I guess that's how
Yeah.
ET happens.
Yeah.
yeah, that's how easy. Yeah.
That's right. Man, I can't imagine. Yeah.
Best game in the world.
Yeah.
Well.
E.T.
Have y'all had any kind of like funny bugs that have happened, or are you leaving anything in there that's funny, or?
Well, yeah. So some stuff, we post some stuff on YouTube, just like weird things that'll happen. Where we had one where somebody drop kicked somebody out of an early Retro Rumble match, and they literally went flying out of the ring and off the screen. And people are like, "Oh, you got to keep that in." And what's funny, the best example though is just recently we started showing cage matches, and we were originally going to have the cage slowly drop down on on wires. So the programmer, we didn't have all the art assets done yet, so he just dropped it and made it bounce. And we posted that, and everybody's like, "Keep it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Leave it that way." And you know what? It's grown on me, and I want to keep it now.
Yeah.
And it also,
Nice.
from a programming standpoint, we have like the original WrestleFest had those entrances where you walked in
Yes.
and you could walk into the ring.
Yeah.
And it's something little, but we would have had to like program them and new animations to walk into a cage and stuff like that. Well, since the cage drops down now after the fact, we don't have to do any of that. You know what I mean?
That's great.
So we saved a little bit of money there from a couple additional animations that we didn't need.
That's cool.
Awesome.
Did you say that you have weapons in the game? Are there
So
weapons?
right now we just have chairs.
Chairs, okay.
And we do want to add cookie sheets at some point.
Yeah.
But no, we definitely want to add more. It's on the list of things to add. I'm guessing it's going to come in an update at this point. We definitely got chairs in that can be used outside the ring now. But I'm envisioning like a hardcore DLC where we add a bunch of weapons, more weapons to the game, and maybe a hardcore match with like barbed wire. We have some art assets done for a pretty cool ring, like a hardcore death match kind of
Cool.
thing.
That's cool.
Man.
I'm
Get
getting
a celebrity.
excited.
Get the YouTube in there.
Yeah.
And get the celebrity death match going on with them. Be great. Ripping the heads off of
Yeah,
them.
that would be.
That's what they do.
I know a few people I'd want to make in the game to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Present company excluded,
Of course.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So are you still a gamer besides WrestleFest and Of course, RetroMania.
Yeah, I am. I play console stuff with my kids. The thing I played probably the most recently was Skyrim. I played it through on the PC and actually played it through on the Switch when it came out for the Switch again.
Oh, cool.
I was a big Elder Scrolls fan. I played a bunch of the other ones before that as well. That's what I probably played. I played a lot of Diablo 3 on the PC. I like those action RPG type games. And then most of the other stuff though, I go back. I have an emulator hooked up to my PC. I have a Nintendo controller hooked up to it as well, and I play a lot of old NES. I still play Tetris.
Nice.
I still play Mike Tyson's Punch Out. I did play a little bit of the new Spider-Man, like I said, and that's actually not even new anymore. It's 2 years old. But I haven't. I'm trying to think what's the most recent game I've played. Mostly though, I've been playing RetroMania. I'll be honest with you.
Of course.
I play it for hours every day, just trying to find bugs and testing and things like that. So I kind of try to get, and I work so I'm working on that project, and we have a couple other projects for my finance and accounting business. So between those two things, I'm in front of the computer screen a ton. So I got to get some exercise at some point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. No, Chris
You
knows
get the VR
exactly.
headset. That's
Yeah,
the
Chris knows
exercise.
exactly about playing video games all day.
Not so much
let's
the
talk about-
exercise part.
Not the exercise. I don't know what you're
No,
talking
not
about.
the exercise part.
I don't know what that is. That's some newfangled word.
So you grew up watching wrestling. Who were your favorite wrestlers growing up?
I had a ton. So it's funny, a quick funny story on that. So the first time I saw wrestling was WWF at a sleepover. My friend lived a house away from me, my best friend, or my two best friends, really. They were brothers. And I went over there and I saw wrestling for the first time, and it was Junkyard Dog, Magnificent Morocco, Hulk Hogan, and these guys, and it was awesome. I fell in love instantly. I loved it. So the next Saturday, I was home, and I tried to find it, and I couldn't. Eventually, I found it at like 1 o'clock at a different time, and it was NWA. Jim Crockett Promotions was on, and then I saw Magnum TA, Dusty Rhodes, the Four Horsemen, Chief Wahoo McDaniel, and all these other guys. So I figured out the time, and I just kept watching that one because I think Kung Fu was on, which I also liked. Was on like right after that,
Nice.
so I would watch that wrestling and then Kung Fu or something. And so so then I would talk to my friend, and he's like, "Did you see so and so like Junkyard Dog's match?" I go, "He's never on the show I watch. Didn't he retire or something?" I'm like, I saw the Rock and Roll Express though beat the Russians for the tag championship, and so I did watch a lot more NWA probably initially, but then I once I figured out, as a 10-year-old, what times things were on, and figured that out for myself. I watched both. I love Jake the Snake Roberts.
Oh yeah.
Hulk Hogan. I loved Hogan, and everybody. When you're 10, you love Hogan.
Yeah.
I hated Piper. Loved Mr. T because I was a big A-Team fan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So, whenever Hogan guest starred on the A-Team, it was my favorite episode. But and then up through Sting, into WCW and those guys. There you go. There you go.
It's Ryan's favorite.
Yeah, I like Surfer Sting more than Crow Sting.
Oh, Surfer Sting is my
Oh,
favorite.
yeah, definitely.
I love
Hands down.
favorite wrestler of all time, Surfer Sting. Oh.
And Barry Windham and Mike Rotunda, the U.S. Express.
Oh.
I love that tag team.
Yeah.
And I totally bought. The guy Johnny Valentine rubbed his cigar in Barry Windham's eye, forced him to retire, and then he was gone from the WWE or WWF at the time the tag team broke up. And I thought, as a kid, well, he must have retired, yeah. And then and I still remember. I'm trying to think. I think it was Smash looked a lot like Crusher Khrushchev from NWA, and it turns out it's because they're the same freaking guy. And then that's when I started kind of catching on a little bit, or at least I thought I was. But I feel like I'm talking a lot. But one real quick other story
That's good.
about this is so I went to a wrestling match as a kid, probably around 11 years old, and my dad worked for Texaco. the oil company as an engineer. But somehow he knew, and I still don't know how he knew, but he knew like one of the New Jersey athletic commissioners or something. So this is before Vince McMahon called it sports entertainment, and they still had to get sanctioned by the state and all that. So my dad knew somebody. He got us in backstage, like at a wrestling event.
Oh, cool.
And it ruined it for me.
Oh, no.
So I still remember seeing Hulk Hogan talk to Nikolai Volkov after
Good buddies.
they were in the main event backstage. And I'm like, why are they talking to each other? What's going on?
They hate each other.
So
What are you doing? Hit him!
yeah, I know exactly. So it was I kind of already had a suspicion, but it didn't stop me. I was probably upset for a day. Like, you know what? I don't care. It's like watching a movie. Suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting how how times have changed in wrestling, because there was promotions that if you were caught, like if the babyface was caught with the heel out in public, that there would be ramifications, and people and the owner or the promoter would not go for that. Like, they weren't allowed to ride in cars and stuff. And nowadays it's just sort of like, yeah, we're entertainment. We know that
Yeah.
Right.
It's not real. But
It's kind of like when we went to the Royal Rumble in Houston, everybody, I hadn't watched in forever, so it was kind of funny to me that there were the characters that were obviously the heel coming in, but everybody's chanting their chant or whatever, and like doing the thing. Like, I'm trying to think, what's the guy that everybody holds the lighter up to and does the
Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, Bray Wyatt. So everybody's doing that, and they're saying all the things, but then they're booing him, and then they're cheering him, and it's like, what is going on? It was so weird. But I don't know. It was an interesting event for me, but
yeah, it's changed somewhat.
it has. But
now.
So they had a free month of WWE online that you could watch. So we during this time, and my wife sat and watched it with me. We watched WrestleMania. What was it? I told you we watched three or something.
I think you watched three.
And it was just so funny because the characters are really goofy, and I remember them all being goofy, and like just out there, right? And now everybody's so serious, but it was fun to watch it, because Hacksaw Jim Duggan's coming in with his board, and he's all doing all this, and it was just so great watching every morning or Saturday mornings rather, or was it Saturday mornings there was some wrestling on, I think, and
Saturday and Sunday mornings.
Yeah.
After the cartoons went off, and I was like, wrestling, and then I was like, yeah, wrestling. I was like, I want more cartoons.
It was just like this triumphant entry. These people come in, and it's just like dun dun dun.
Yeah, larger than life.
Larger than life, right? And now it's just this, loud music and there's loud music and people coming in and all the women and all this that they have to put in there, but it's
get off my lawn.
It was enjoyable when we went to the Rumble, I guess, to a point, but I just have a lot of great memories watching all those matches and waiting, just looking forward to that weekend show that was coming on TV. So
well, it's funny because I went back and watched, because you said you watched WrestleMania 3 and I had seen that forever. So I went back and watched it, and I sort of had the reverse, because some of the finishing moves and stuff, it was like, oh no, it's a clothesline. He's out.
It was bad.
And it's like,
it was terrible.
Now it's like, he did 6 flips and he's still in it and all this stuff. So
and he kicks out.
And he kicks out. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that was the knock on WWF back in the day, is that it was kind of fake, or more fake looking to me, but WCW was the one that they were technically great, and like NWA, that looked great, and they did these.
It looked more real.
Yeah. But it was more about the pomp and circumstance, with WWF, and that made it fun. But it also was fun to watch WCW rather, because again they were doing all those cool technical moves, and it it got better on WWF, of course, but.
Yeah, I was a big WCW guy, and I remember, like, even before, like, Nitro and all that stuff, that's what I would watch a lot of. And I remember that at one point, I forget who it was that was, like, in charge, like, if you want to call it that, on the TV. episodes, but he said that he was banning mats from ringside because this is real. This isn't.
I think it was Bill Watts.
Yeah, Bill Watts. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
this is what they do up north. You know, this is real stuff. We don't need those. And so it's just like, good gracious, they're going to kill themselves.
Right. Yeah, they had those nice mats on the floor back then. So
Yeah,
And that's
but yeah,
probably why I didn't watch this stuff because I was afraid anytime Ryan you saw them do something you wanted to try it on me.
got to. You know.
So I was probably a little too afraid to really watch these shows because I was hiding.
I remember my friend DDT'd his brother,
Oh, my
his
God.
little brother. Yeah, he was seeing stars. I bet he had a
God.
concussion now, but didn't. When we were kids, you didn't really know. It wasn't on the concrete or anything, but he still.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was.
I'm fine now. Everything's fine. I'm okay.
so
That's
I
about
wrestled. I wrestled in high school. Not professional wrestling, but
yeah.
Greco-Roman or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And this new guy came in, and he wanted to be a wrestler, but he was confused about
Professional.
high school wrestling versus professional. So they paired him up with me, and I double legged him, picked him up, and he thought, I'm going to DDT this guy, and he DDT'd me into a cinder block wall in the practice
Oh
room,
my gosh.
and I got a concussion, and he was immediately ejected from the building. But yeah, it's just,
You're out of here.
yeah, you're out of here. But
Break it off, street.
But yeah, I mean, just looking at the videos that you have on YouTube for RetroMania just sort of brought me back into the day of watching wrestling as a kid. And I'm so looking forward to it. Like I said, I grew up watching WCW and Sting. I love Sting and sort of that the Surfer Sting,
Right.
real
the
Sting.
colors and the fun. And so watching all these videos that you guys are doing brings me back to that. So I'm glad you're doing it that way and not doing it the way that they're doing game.
Yeah, well, even if we wanted to, I don't have the budget to do it that way.
Yeah.
So. But the thing is, I didn't want to do it. I wanted a 2D game that I could pick up and play. And that's really what it came down to. I love the look. There's a lot of nostalgia for it, but I'm having my kids play it. I actually put two of my 3 kids test it now, almost daily, due to the situation we're all in right now. So.
Mm-hmm.
They've been great doing bug testing and logging them on our website. We use Trello to log all our bugs, so they've been logging bugs for me. But I'm hoping we can catch on because I've had their friends play it, and we've had a lot of kids play it at. We've been at PAX East, and we were at Too Many Games, which is out in Philadelphia near me. And we've gotten a couple hundred people have played it, and a lot of kids have played it and really enjoyed it. So, you don't need the latest graphics all the time to have fun playing a video game. And that's really what I'm hoping people see.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think I play more games on my phone than I do on the console just because it's right there. And they don't have great graphics, but they're fun. So, do you, sorry?
I was going to say, that's what I always say when we talk about video games is like the games that I've always played are ones that you can just pick up and play, and the ones I've really enjoyed, I guess, and not have to feel like you have to relearn it every time. There's a few that I do, but the ones I always enjoyed, even as a kid, were just ones that I could quickly play, like wrestling games or sports games, and be done with it, right? I don't have to spend all night unless I wanted to complete a season. Like I played a lot of basketball and football games, but you could still feel like you completed something in a short amount of time, right? Whereas other games that are these puzzles where you got to go up in here and do this and get the right timing on the jumps and all that, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's so frustrating. But like a wrestling game, you can just pick up and jump in. So
yeah,
and plus, you said it has the nostalgia factor, that look.
Yeah,
like
big,
even if you weren't necessarily like that big of a wrestling fan or whatever, you see a game like that, and that's the type of games you love playing as a kid. You'll want to try it out, pick it up, and play it to get that kind of feeling back.
Yep.
Yeah,
for sure.
So I was going to ask you, have you watched any of the AEW product that's out?
Yeah, I've watched a little bit of it. It's not bad. I like it. I think I'm a little I don't like 2-hour shows. I have found. So I like the NWA, the Ring of Honor, stuff like that, just because 2 hours is a long, big commitment to me.
Yeah.
But I definitely follow it. Like, I follow what's going on. I follow the big matches. I find myself cheating a little bit and watching the highlight shows on YouTube more than actually sitting through and watching everything. But if there's a particular match, I'll definitely make a point to see it. You know, I like Matt Hardy. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what they do with him there and how much control he has over what he's doing. I'm pretty sure they're going to let him do what he wants, and they should. You know, because he's pretty creative, and you know that's one of the few things I've really been. That I like the whole Bray Wyatt thing with WWE too. Although I don't like the direction they took it, but I liked it when it first started.
When it first started, yeah.
But no, AEW's decent. I like it. We were trying to get those guys in.
Oh man, that would be awesome.
And we couldn't get through. We couldn't get. We got to management level, and we didn't get past the manager. So
we got Colt Cabana's there now, so you got
right. Yeah, and technically, and Jeff Cobb's made an appearance recently.
Yeah,
so we can say we have representation from a bunch of major.
For sure.
Although I guess we can't really say that. We can allude to it.
That's right.
I know that Kenny Omega is probably going to love your game because this is right up his alley.
Yep.
But you mentioned Jake the Snake earlier. Did you know that last night he brought the snake out?
Did he bring the snake out? I thought I saw something like that because I just saw a clip. And it's funny, surprised. I didn't think he could use Jake the Snake elsewhere.
Well, he's just called Jake Roberts there.
Oh, they didn't mention the Jake the Snake?
They didn't say Jake the Snake. They say Jake Roberts. That's what they call him.
I guess he doesn't know Jake the Snake Roberts.
Yeah, but he brought out at the end of the match because he's with he's sort of managing Murder Hawk. I forget his actual name, but that's his nickname.
Murder Hawk.
Murder Hawk. Yeah,
like Murder Hornets,
big, like
right?
huge dude with this red.
Like Murder Hornets. That's what I'm thinking of.
I forget his name, but his nickname's Murder Hawk. Anyway, so they brought it out at the end. Brandy Rhodes, who's Cody Rhodes' wife, she gets knocked out by another Britt Baker, another female wrestler.
The dentist.
Yeah. So she's laying in the middle of the ring, and Jake comes in with this big old python and just lays it on her, and it's slithering all, and she's just like laying there. I'm like, how could she be laying there all still like that? But it was so cool because it brought you back to the days of Jake the Snake, and so I like that they're taking some of that retro stuff and bringing it. It reminds me a lot of WCW, some of the stuff that they're doing at AEW. Last night, Matt Hardy, Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega, and Sammy Guevara had a like no hold barred match, and they were using everything in the little arena. You know, they had the pie plates, and they threw Matt Hardy in a big thing of an ice chest. They got in a golf cart and ran somebody over. It was just like, old school fun.
Right. But it's good to have, somebody other than WWE, and it's a shame all the crap in the world happened because I felt wrestling was really taken off again. It was starting to get popular again. Independent promotions were doing really well. I think Impact, Ring of Honor, NWA, we're all doing, we're growing their audiences, and this is going to take a while to recover, I think, for a lot of them.
For sure.
Yeah. Like I'm glad they're doing the sort of empty arenas to keep it going, but it's not the same without the fans, and I feel bad for the independent promotions that aren't, because that's how they make a living. And
they can't run with no fans because that's where they make all their money. No TV deals. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
$13 Cokes.
Yeah.
We had a refillable cup, which mostly is like, it's a cool souvenir, like just for this cup at Royal Rumble, and you get free refills. Well, I mean, it's so much that you're just like, I can't drink any more of this. It's it's all watered down. I don't drink sodas anymore, so it's like, this is terrible, But it's like, I have this cool cup now,
right?
But for $13.
So Joel, you're shooting. Sorry,
you're fine.
So you're shooting for July.
That's what we're trying to get to. I feel 50-50 right now, probably. We got a lot of artwork, and we actually signed two guys that were, this is a little bit of a scoop, that were released recently by WWE.
Nice.
Oh.
So we're super excited to have them. But we want to get him in for the launch of the game. So we want to get him on the initial launch roster. So we're working really hard to get all the artwork done and
Oh man.
And all that. So
If it's who I'm not going to say any
because I'm
names.
excited.
Yeah, but if it's who I'm thinking of, yeah, you went ooh. But if it's, I mean,
because I'm excited for him. I don't know who they would be.
I know everybody that was
I'm
released, so I'm thinking in my head, and then I'm like, if they got that guy, that's gonna be a deal breaker right there. But so. I mean,
but the big thing is we're not going to push it out if it's not done.
Yeah.
So I would rather, especially this is our first release as a studio, I would rather wait a little longer, and I'm talking a couple weeks longer, and have a more finished and polished game than to force something out and then just get crushed by reviews, and then now you're not only have to fix the game, you have to fix your reputation. I think it's easier to forgive somebody waiting a little longer to put a better product out there than it is somebody that just puts it out there because they need to make money. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
the fans will appreciate that so much more.
Yep.
Yeah.
And especially recent history shows, I think No Man's Sky is a classic example of how not to release a game.
Yeah. They promised the moon, right? So.
Yeah, promise. And it's taken them, 2-3 years now to get where it should have been. And it's actually a good game now.
Right.
But, they just, now it's not only just the game they're fighting, it's they're fighting their reputation as well.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, I think 2K is not releasing a wrestling game this year because of the horrible game that they released last year.
I mean, they're in a tough spot. I'm sure the developers of that game weren't like, it's ready, ship it. You know what I mean? It was clearly a business decision to satisfy stockholders. You know what I mean? And I think they just switched developers because 2K published it, but they had iamGEEK, I think, were the ones developing the old game. And I guess there was some falling out there. So I forget who took over, but somebody new took over and they just couldn't get it done. When you're doing a game every year, that's tough to do. I mean, I've been working on this for 3 years and, granted we're much, much smaller, but I still have, right now we have 15 people working on RetroMania.
That's cool.
It's mostly artists. I think 12 of the 15 are artists. Wow. So it's just people pumping out pixels right now. We're pretty much done with the gameplay. Now it's just finding bugs and pumping artwork out. So
cool. So do you think you'll have merchandise coming out for T-shirts, posters?
ProWrestlingTees.com/RetroSoft Studios right now.
Sweet.
Nice.
So there's a couple shirts on there now. The proceeds go to either charity. Part it goes to charity. Part goes to the wrestlers. RetroSoft Studios isn't taking any of it.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
So we have a couple shirts up. I think everybody will have a shirt up there within the next couple of weeks. But now we have the Road Warriors up there. I think there's a House of Hardcore shirt and a Collage shirt up there now.
And it's still in the same style of the game?
Yeah, so it's similar to this.
Oh, cool. Nice.
This is Zack Sabre Jr. I have up here.
Very nice.
So it's the same. Yeah, it's the same. That's the style of the same stuff we have on our website, and is the style of the shirts.
Wow.
I like the style. It's very nice.
Yeah.
And Ryan's gonna have a whole new wardrobe now.
We'll get you one, Chris, so you can wear.
We'll
get you a blue meanie shirt or something.
I'll take the blue meanie. I love the name. Just for the name.
Well, do you guys have any more questions?
We do have a comment.
Oh, we do?
Yeah, Winchester commented. He says, from the ages of 6 to 8, my parents would use their tax refunds to throw a huge party for the entire small town out in the country. One year we had wrestlers come as entertainment. It was so weird seeing them outside the ring, just enjoying life in casual clothes and getting along with one another. There was so much charcoal to get rid of the smell. Their dressing room was in our basement. That's pretty cool.
That's cool. I want I want that. My birthday's next week. I just want wrestlers just to hang out.
Yeah.
It's 6 feet apart.
Just 6 feet apart.
Right.
Yeah, I did.
When I had mentioned I was at that wrestling show, one of the other wrestlers I met was George Animal Steel.
Oh, cool.
And he stayed completely in character and was pulling my hair. And my dad couldn't get, this is before digital phones and everything. So my dad's fiddling with his camera, trying to get us in focus. Meanwhile, the whole time he's yanking on my hair staying in character the whole time.
That's cool. That's fun.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I went to a pro wrestling fantasy camp done by Booker T.
Oh, that's awesome.
He was there. He was there, so we got to hang out with them. But oh man, it was like a bunch of 20-year-olds, and then me. I was 40, so they gave me the nickname Father Time, and I did all the moves with them and stuff. I hung in there, but after the next few days, like I couldn't walk.
I can't imagine doing that.
Oh man, it's crazy. And those, I took a bump onto the ring apron, like the hardest part of the ring, and like I was like bleeding down my leg. And people that call it fake, it's not fake. Like I was body slammed, clothesline, all the fun stuff. Because they, when I signed up for it, they're like, you don't have to be in shape. And then I got there, and it was just like, what do you mean I don't have to be in shape? Look what you're having me do.
Did they hit you with a golf card?
I was at a comic convention, Keystone Comic-Con, a couple months ago. And so Tommy Dreamer invited me out there because he was setting up wrestling there for the day or for the weekend. They had hired his House of Hardcore to put on matches every maybe 2-3 hours. They would put on a match. So I got in the ring for the first time.
Oh, cool.
And I almost tripped. I couldn't even get in the ring.
Oh, man.
Right? So I got my first, it looked so easy. I moved, lift up my first leg, put it right through, go under, and I was all fine. But then I tried to pull my second leg back into the ring, and I just didn't lift it up, shade not high enough, caught the second rope, almost fell, but luckily I didn't. And I just felt like Dreamer must have just looked at me and just went.
Yeah.
I just shook his head.
Did you run the ropes?
No, I did. After that, I didn't want to embarrass myself anymore.
Or hurt yourself.
Maybe, hopefully I'll get another chance, though.
Yeah. If you get the chance, take it, because it's like, something you should do once. I'll probably never do it again, because, that was when I was 40, and now I'm turning 42, so, I was too
Did you go
old
off the
then.
top rope?
I did not go off the top rope. I was one of the first guys that got body slammed. They're like, "Who wants to see the body slam?" And all these 20-year-olds were like, "No," and I'm like, "I'll do it." And they they body slammed me full force. And
How'd it feel?
It wasn't bad. I mean, I didn't really feel that was like the least thing that what hurt the least,
Right?
Because they have control and they lay you down. But we did a shoulder tackle, and the guy was like. They paired me up with an actual wrestler. The other people were paired up with people that were there for the thing, but I was the odd man out, so I got the actual wrestler. And he said, "I'm going at you full force." And I said, "Bring it. Let's do it." And he shoulder tackled me full force, and I went flat on the ring, and everybody's like, "Oh!" But because I had to show the 20-year-olds that the 40-year-olds.
You were stupid.
Yeah, that was stupid. But it was a fun, especially growing up in wrestling. It was a fun.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Because I worked house shows growing up, like the Civic Center. I would go work the shows. Like I wouldn't wrestle or anything, but I'd work them doing the seating and everything. So I got to meet Rock and Roll Express. They would wander in. It was a Smoky Mountain Wrestling back in the day.
Oh, that's Jim Cornette. Yeah.
Yep. So I worked a lot of their shows and stuff, but I never got to get in the ring for them. But
were you there when New Jack gave that promo?
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. It's been so long ago.
Have you seen that Dark Side of the Ring show?
I haven't got to watch the New Jack one.
Oh my God! I didn't remember either. I put it out of my memory. You guys should definitely watch this. I know you're not huge fans anymore, but. Watch this Dark Side of the Ring New Jack episode. It is crazy, the stuff this guy did. He had attempted murder in a match twice.
Oh,
Wow.
Back in the day, that stuff really happened.
Yeah, it was entertaining, though.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm looking forward to the game coming out. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down who I think the last two people are, put it in an envelope, and when the game comes out, I'm gonna send it to you on social media or something.
All right.
Yeah.
That sounds like a plan.
Well, thank you. So they can find you RetroManiaWrestling.com.
Yep, that's the best place. We have all, and we're on all social media at Retrosoft Studio.
Cool. Well, thank you for joining us again, Mike. And this has been episode 147 of I Am Geek, and we'll be talking with you next week. Are we still on the live?
We're still on live if you want to be on live.
Oh, okay.
We can change it. We can close it out.
Here.
We did have, so Winchester said that his birthday is next week too. So
Oh.
you shared.
Oh, well, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday, Winchester. Well,
Yeah.
cool. Well, thanks for being. Yeah, I know you're a busy man. You probably got stuff to do, so
Everybody's
Sleep
busy,
or
right?
something.
yeah, sleep or something.
Some of us are working on super secret video games. And
Yeah.
That's what we do, Ryan.
That's what we do.
Ryan, what are you working on?
My 2 kids, keeping them in bed. So we'll see. I have a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I'm almost 42.
God.
So
God, oh my God.
Yeah,
That would got to be tough right now, especially.
yeah.
Because mine are older. I have 16, 13, or 14 now, and 10.
Yeah.
So they've been playing a lot of video games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine are like, can we go out now? And I'm like, no, we still can't go out places right now. When? Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Never.
Never. Yeah, this is your life. Well, cool. Well, if you ever need anything from us, let us know. We'll send you when it comes out. When the podcast comes out, we'll shoot it to you. And
Yeah, and we'll post it on everything.
yeah. Feel free to use it. And then if you need three guys for a video game, you know.
All right. I know where to go.
We got these great faces.
Anyways, thank you, sir. So
All right.
much.
Thanks, guys. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank
Talk to
you.
you later.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.